Welcome to Japan for the third round of Season 6 in the Alpha Touring Challenge. I am Bot14 and I am joined in the booth today by a good friend of the league, Michael McLeod. Welcome to the booth.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going fantastic. Isn't Fuji Speedway a great location for a touring car race?
Definitely. And with that funky chicane taken out, I see this layout is without the funny business chicane. It's definitely looking like it's going to be a really great track, really great race. So I'm really excited to see how this goes.
Yeah, I definitely felt like the chicane from last season kind of slowed down the flow of that last sector, and now it's an extremely scary corner where you have to hop that curb. Have you put much time in on track at Fuji?
I have on Fuji, but not with the removal of that chicane. I really wish I tried it. Right now, I just got a knee injury, so I'm not able to drive much. I'd love to as soon as I'm back, though. I can't wait to try that. It looks real exciting. How fast are you going in miles per hour when you hit that curve, approximately?
I couldn't tell you the exact number, but I know that you are in at least third gear.
At least third gear. That's pretty quick then.
Yeah, you're having to carry a lot of speed over it. As we can see here, Micah Hendricks came home with the victory last season when we were running that chicane layout. The drivers have started qualifying down below, so we're going to get down there as they are starting their first flying laps. I believe we are looking at Logan McKenzie right now. That looks like it's turn 4, perhaps?
Logan, who is that guy?
Only, you're talking about three-time champion Logan McKenzie, who beat Francois Schenck in Equal Machinery?
Oh, I think, yeah. With that in mind, actually, let's take a look at where is Francois Schenck right at the moment. Is he in this yet?
Yes, it looks like he is directly behind Logan. And, a big part of this qualifying, as we get the track map up, is going to be Slipstream. Because that's a kilometer-long front straight you got there. And I think in these cars, you're getting anywhere from 2 to 4 tenths if you're close enough with the car ahead.
Definitely. So I see you have 15-minute open qualifying. So that's a lot of time to play around with those gaps and figure out if you can catch a draft, gain a few extra tenths, half a second. So yeah.
Yeah, and we'll see if we can spot some drivers doing that. In fact, I do spot McKenzie's teammates here, Acatella and Slug. They are at least running back to back with each other. Was Lauzon directly behind Shink here? I'm not sure if there's a car. There is not a car in between him and Shink, though he's not necessarily close enough to benefit from that slipstream. Shink does go fastest on this first run of laps, though.
It definitely looks like everyone's benefiting off of, how do you say this? Lauzon? Lazon? I saw the discussion about this on the Discord. I just can't remember exactly. I always think of that Lazon.
Yeah, I believe, I'm not any kind of French, so I'm not gonna even try the accent, but he used the word lasagna to
Oh yeah,
as an
yes, they like
example.
the lasagna.
Yeah, so I'm going with lasagne. Uh, I'm an American, so I'm not gonna touch the accent.
I pulled up the standings for your guys' season so far. We've got Micah Hendricks. He has 175 points this season. He is in first place leading the charge. Logan McKenzie is in second place with 174. Really not far behind. James D. Carr, and you always got to highlight the D because, it's Big D over here. 159 points. And
And Micah and McKenzie are both have been neck and neck so far this season. At Belle Isle, they were basically attached at the hip. And then at Laguna, while Hendricks ran into some trouble, and they have overall been very close in pace, along with McKenzie and Shink. Now, all three of them have been behind Waj so far this season, but Waj not able to make it this time, so this is kind of anyone's race to win.
Yeah, that's definitely gonna hurt his chances of having a missed week. How many drop weeks do you have?
So yeah, 13 round season, and we're looking at 2 drop weeks. In
Ooh.
that last race cannot be dropped, so it's all on the line in that final week if you're anywhere close.
Yeah, I'm seeing that here in big, big red box. It says cannot be dropped. Special.
Yes, and that special event this season is at Bathurst, which has never been visited by the league, and it will certainly be something in these touring cars. They like to get up close and personal with those concrete barriers.
So we're following along with Francois Schink right now. I'm not sure who that is in front of him, but here you can see they're going through where the chicane used to be. Oh, and there's the headlights.
Yep, and that caught out. That looks like Sedano, and that shows you just how tough it is to go over that and keep it together.
And so here is the decreasing radius turns, which are the death to the TCR class, the ultimate challenge. But you can see that when you get it right, you get an excellent exit. And here's the decreasing radius onto the final turn. This is, I don't know how many miles long, an absolute, absolute snore of a straight without the length of it. But excellent, excellent passing opportunity. If you can totally snag that draft and get close on that final decreasing radius turn, it gives an excellent passing opportunity into turn one, which is one of the heavier braking zones in the entire track. And here we go, Francois starting his next lap in qualifying.
Yeah, and currently just over 2/100ths behind James Carr, showing that raw pace that he has shown so many times. And like you said, turn one, really critical braking zone there. Not only for the fact that it is the heaviest on the track, but it's a very difficult corner to take in these cars. There's a little drop in elevation at the apex that induces a lot of flat spin that can cause the car to just plow completely outside.
Oh, and there we see a car actually just allowing Francois Schink to have his space, have his lap, and carry on. So this definitely, it may help Francois in his qualifying to have gained that draft up to that point and have no battle or anything from there on and onward. He just has to set a clean no 1x lap, and let's see if he can make it happen.
Yeah, and it looks like it is a very fast lap. That second sector, he has just gone purple in. Matt Zepka is also has a green sector on his lap. So a couple people about to cross the line now with potential improvements. And we're going to see Zepka and Schink cross the line now. Zepka already on the straight. And then Sedano behind Schink here has 2 green sectors. He's currently sitting in 19th. He needs just 2/10 to pick up a couple more spots. And Zepka does go fastest with that 147.284.
Let's see if Matt Zepka has a draft or if he's doing this all on his own.
Yeah, if you check down here, it looks like he is the leader of this pack. There's nobody out in front. Sedano did improve. He jumps to 14th.
So that's just a sign of Zepka's pace right there. He's out on an island all on his own, and he's putting down the 147.284.
And
At least, yeah.
speaking of pace, Acatella at the tail end of this 3-car Yellow Flag Motorsports train has gone fastest for pole. Now, Acatella does not have a career pole yet.
So let's see if he can make his stick. Provisional pole. He is not not too much faster than the other guys around him. Excellent lap. Let's see if it sticks.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see tire wear very heavy on this track. And part of me wonders if towards the end of qualifying, these drivers aren't going to find it much harder to improve on their times as the tires heat up with, like you said, those narrowing radius corners are just killer on these cars.
Definitely. And I'm seeing Connor Acetella is in 7th position in the league at the moment with 124 points. And so, yeah, so he's definitely right up there near the front.
Yeah, he's been doing a great job and a huge improvement over even where he was a season ago. I think at the start of a season 4, or excuse me, season 5, he was nowhere near where he was at the end, and now it looks like he's taken another step to start this season. We're seeing along the bottom of the screen lots of yellow sectors. Slug might have a chance to improve here, and McKenzie himself has 2 green sectors.
Oh, and there we go. Pole snatched away from Connor Astella. Logan McKenzie coming in with 146.518. And who is this pulling off to the side? It looks like a bit of a draft swap happening here.
Yeah, it looks like Slug pulling in behind him, and Slug went 4th fastest on that lap. Some more.
Well,
Uh,
oh,
I'm not sure what. I'm not sure what's going on there. Looks like they're all slowing down, maybe to set more space. You got a couple Beaver Buzz drivers behind them. That's Jerome Bajulaz, who's currently got 6th on the board, running just ahead of Lauzon. And oh, he's gonna go wide. That's definitely an invalidated lap.
oh yeah. I guess the beaver was hungry. He wanted to eat some grass. There you go.
Yeah, you know they're not made for lawn mowing, but they're not too bad at it. Maybe we should talk about last season's winner at this track, Micah Hendricks, because he's currently mired down in the 8th position, far off his championship rivals.
Definitely. He is trying to set his lap all on his own. Props to everyone who's trying to do this on their own without any draft help. It's, of course, high risk to try and use draft. Any little mistake from the car in front of you, and you can lose a lot of time. All of a sudden, your tires cannot cool down, and you've lost your chances in qualifying. So it's the harder way to go, but I'd say the better way. So as we're following along, this is, was this turn 6? I think this one. Quite a wild turn where you really have to like trust it and throw it in there. And here we're coming down that hill towards where the old chicane used to be. Let's see how it is in the cockpit view. How hard this turn looks and feels. Oh, that's quite a bump that they gotta take there.
It sounds absolutely horrific, and every time you think, okay, I must have broken something that time, but these cars are pretty sturdy.
Yeah, it's definitely why all you guys love this TCR class, am I right?
Yeah, that same sturdiness applies to the racing itself, and I'm sure we'll see a good few examples of that sort of elbows out mentality that comes with these cars today. James Carr, fastest on the board, and it's not even close. He eclipses McKenzie by well, 3/10 of a second.
Wow, look at that. And Micah improving on his time, taking McKenzie even further down the standings on qualifying. And so that's put Connor Acetella, who was previously pulled, down to 4th, McKenzie 3rd, Hendricks 2nd, James D. Carr up to 1. Wow, a provisional pole. This is anybody's guess how this is going to end up. Francois Schink, who was 2nd, now down to 7th.
Yeah, Shink has not been able to find the improvement he needs to get back in that top 5. We're looking at Dan Smith, Lieutenant Dan, Anime Dan. He's currently in P5, a bit above his usual pace. Maybe he's got something here this week.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how the race start goes and if he can keep and hold that pace all race long.
We have Connor Acatella on a purple sector and a green sector. He only needs 2/10 to get his teammate. Let's see if he gets it here, and it is going to be just shy. He did improve, but only by about 1/10. So McKenzie holds on to that P3 for now.
So how about some of these new guys? So who are some of these newer guys in our league, in the league here? It looks like we've got Aaron Hall. I don't think I've seen in our league here before. Charlie Pouyer, I think is newer. Chalafu?
Yes, yeah, those are a couple of new guys. You've also got though Kurt Smith is not new. He's become more of a regular this season. It's great to see. And we all do have someone making their first start, and it is Mark Senecal here, driving the Rothmans Hyundai Elantra there. I think, I mean, Ian Maddox has also shown up for the first time this season. Ketlowski is come back after a bit of a hiatus, so it's great to see some of these names in the back of the field. It gives those everyone throughout the field someone to fight.
Definitely, the more cars the merrier. It's always nice when you got someone to like basically a partner in battle. I'm gonna take another run at that name, Stefan Chalefou.
That is probably closer to it. Uh, this is the time is up. Shink is coming across the line for the final time here. He needs 5/10 for pole. He gets
Oh,
he gets two of them. That puts him right alongside McKenzie, who himself has a purple sector and a lot of slipstream here. He needs a little over a tenth to get Micah. About to come across the line now. Doesn't look like Icatella's going to improve. McKenzie does not improve either, so it looks like that is your board. Those are the last cars across the line there. So
Yellow Flag Motorsports not causing any yellow flags.
not just that, but they qualify 357, and that is, let's see, the Beaver Buzz guys. You have Shink in 4th, Bajulaz in 8th, and Lazan in 11th. I think it's the next closest team in terms of just presence at the
So let's
top of the
hear a
field.
run. Let's hear you run through all these names. Let's see if you can make it through in time.
All right, let's go. So we have Carr and Hendricks on the front row. Then it's McKenzie, Shink, Acatella, Dan, Slug, Bajulaz, Rhodes, and Bauer on in the top 10. Lauzon and Zepka are just behind in 11th and 12th. Then we have Fedorowski, Poyer, Smith, Savio, Statzer. Statzer, one of the Delta guys, I think, has taken a step forward this season. He is also not on a team, has never been on a team. Sedano, Kotlowski, Hall, that's your top 20. And then rounding out the field, you have Chalafu, Senecal, Blondal, Maddox. And then at the bottom, we have Michael Depp. That is your starting field for this race here at Fuji. We're still waiting for a couple of these drivers to pop in, and then we'll just be waiting for the 5 red lights.
Yeah, it's just that final moment to, everyone's got to go pee 5 times before they start their engines, all the
Yep.
nerves running up and through their body, and it makes the body do funny things.
Absolutely. That is, it's always more nerve-wracking for me, that gritting than the rest of the race is every single
How,
time.
how many times you got to sit down and get back up and be like, oh, I'm not ready yet?
Yeah, it's at least one. I think. Oh, and there they go. It looks like we got the green flag, and Carr is slow off the line. So that's going to allow, looks like McKenzie to go into the lead here, and Hendricks goes around Carr as well. The other two motorsports, Yellow Flag Motorsports drivers battling there. Oh, and it looks like they're going to go 4 wide, and there's also an incident involving Bajulaz, and I think Lazan was also involved. Fink came out of that 4 wide as the victor. Meanwhile, McKenzie and Hendricks battle for the lead. It looks like McKenzie's going to get him into that turn 3 kink there. Zepka going a little wide in the background. Shink somehow managed to hold on to his 4th place position after an okay start. But he did it with that 4 wide move. Meanwhile, his 2 teammates relegated to the back of the field after that incident at the start of the race. Now we're going to hopefully start to see these guys file out a little bit, because this is intense. This is close.
Definitely, that was quite a shake-up in the middle of the field, and a little bit of a missed start from some of those 2 front row cars, allowing Logan McKenzie to break through and walk through that wide open doorway. And we saw, oh, and there's an incident in the background way back there. That's Stefan Chalefou.
It looks like, I'm not sure if he caught the grass on entry. There is some left side damage, so there was some kind of impact there for certain. And we are seeing the battle for 4th here. Slug trying to work the outside. I'm not sure he's going to be able to make that work on that final corner. And now that we come onto the straightaway, we're about to see that slipstream kick into gear. Dan and Acatella going side by side for 6th. I think Hendricks is going to get McKenzie here as they come down to the end of the straight.
And here we go, Logan McKenzie choosing not to throw a defensive line, gonna let Micah have that inside line, heading into turn 1. and not making it too hard for him. Long race ahead with an hour to go. And here we go. Just nice swap of positions, it's looking like.
And behind them, Shink makes the move on car. Acatella and Rhodes both go around Dan for 6th and 7th. So it's definitely clear just from that one trip down the front stretch that that is where you want to make your passes.
Yeah, with a straight as long as that, yeah, definitely. I think you can have a cup of tea, drink it, go make another cup of tea, and then you might be at the braking zone.
Yeah, it's hard not to fall asleep on your way down there, and especially with the sun setting. I think for now, the sun is actually in some drivers' eyes, depending on where they are on the track. We were checking in on Hall and Statzer here. I think Statzer just went around Hall for the 13th position. Up closer to the front. Whoa, that is James Carr going wide, and he's going to go further down the order. The man that was on pole is now in 5th.
That's definitely one of those things that happens when you qualify real well, have a bad start. Your brain really just starts trying to recover in every little bit way possible, and can make a lot more mistakes because of the panic that's happening.
Yeah, and now he's under threat. Oh, from
Oh,
Acatella.
a little bit of door banging as we always see in the TCR class. It looks like James Carr making the best out of that one, just with a little bit of pure luck, and Acatella not losing too much from that one, luckily.
Yeah, it looked like Connor may have gone a bit wide on exit because Carr was to the outside of the track. So lucky that he was able to hold on to that and really only lose the position to Rhodes, which also reunites those two breakfast for dinner drivers in 5th and 6th. So maybe they can do something to combat the yellow flag motorsports drivers they find themselves surrounded by.
And this is just an absolute long train of front-wheel drive race cars. I think this is a part of the strategy a lot of these drivers are going to be deploying this race, because with an hour long, it's one pit stop if I'm not mistaken. This is not going to be about who can get to every position possible. It's about who can get to that finish line the fastest, or who can get to that. Yeah, as I said, who can get to the end of the line the fastest over a period of time, a long period of time. So.
Yeah, and one thing that frequently factors into those pit stops is how much fuel are you taking? Because since tires are not, I think Shink may just put the bumper to McKenzie there, as tires aren't really much of a factor on pit stops. They take far too long to be viable for pit stops in these cars. It's all about, can I stay with the leaders and fuel save? Because fuel saving is what's going to cut that pit stop time down. That's where you often see people gaining time on pit road.
Definitely, you can gain, I'd say, what, half a second, 1 second on just fuel savings alone. And if you have an excellent pit entry and a pit exit, all of that in combination, you got an easy 2 to 3 seconds you can gain on someone who makes mistakes.
Absolutely. It's huge. And the pit entry here is also very difficult. We will see that later. Here, Shink making the move for 2nd place on McKenzie. Doesn't look like he fights it too much, and like Hendricks, he is overtaken in turn number 1. Now, sticking a nose in here, maybe coming back, but no, looks like Shink's going to pull back in front of him, and that is Shink in P2. Back in 6th place, Acatella holding on to the tail of Rhodes. I believe something else happened to Lazan and David Bowers as well. They were involved in that lap 1 crash, and now they've slid even further back with Lazan pit lane, actually.
Oh, and that's unfortunate. He may be trying to use a fast repair, or we're not sure. Um, maybe we'll find out after the race.
Yes, that would be his 3rd. So in at Laguna, he collected 3 points. This one ended up being his 2nd 0-point finish. So, he's already used 2 of those drop weeks at this point, and it's 2 fat zeros. So that 3-point finish is stuck to him now for the rest of the season. He's going to need a big recovery to get back into championship contention.
Oh, that's going to be tough. And here you go. The car's now taking those massive sausage curves that they've installed at this Fuji track. Um, I I don't know if they damage the cars as much as they used to. At one point, those sausage curves were huge. You would basically be going a few feet in the air, destroy your car. But it looks like these cars are taking them nice and not comfortable. I wouldn't say comfortable, but they're definitely able to take them.
Yeah, it was last season that we saw a couple people break their cars on them, but this season in practice and testing, they have looked fine. There's a lapped car coming out of the pits there. I believe that's Sedano, and he's a bit in the way. Schink gets ahead of him, but that has now separated the rest of the field from Hendricks and Schink. And it looks like he is going to go wide here and let McKenzie through. I don't know if there's space for him to let Slug and Carr through. I feel like this is going to get a bit dicey here. Sedano's very far up the track. Slug is putting the bumper to bumper, saying, hey, we need to go by. And they're finally through. That is a very awkward part of the track to have to let someone by, but he wasn't slowing down all that much either.
Looked like he made the best of it overall, all of them. They have not lost too much contact between each other from a little bit of a lap card chaos. That went better than it would have been expected in public official races, I would have to say. Everyone's still able to get that gap closed down very much in that draft range, especially once they hit that straight. So not, I wouldn't say too much damage off that one.
Yeah, it does look like, for the most part, they have held on. We've seen the passing start to die down now, though further in the field, who was that was trying to break the draft there? Oh, that was Sedano. Rhodes was just trying to use him as slipstream because Rhodes has lost the field. And so Acatella is going to go on the outside and try to get back into that 6th position. But he was not there for the corner, and Rhodes pulls ahead of him under braking. Meanwhile, Dan is hanging out right behind them, and this is a nice little 3-car tussle for what is 6th.
So this is Daniel Sedino and then Lieutenant Dan. So 2 different Dans. Okay, great. Got it straight.
Yes. One of them, you can tell them apart because one of them is a hasshole, and the other one is Anime Dan. 2 of the most flamboyant cars on the grid, and they both look fantastic.
Asshole. Um, I can't. That's too grand. I like that. So I'm gonna just do a quick run through of some of the teams we've got this season. We've got 8 teams this season. We've got starting from the very bottom. Back of the pack racing in spot at the very back. Not Last Motorsports, not in last actually. They are in 7th position. And who is on? Actually, give me the names of who's on Not Last Racing.
Yeah, so let's take a look. Not last, Kurt Smith has kind of been their de facto #1 driver this season. He had done a couple of races with us in years prior. This season, he's gone full-time with the Not Last team, and he's brought on board Mark Crawford, Benjamin Harris, and John Lynch, who I don't believe any of them are currently in attendance this week. But they were in attendance in weeks 1 and 2 to varying degrees of success. They are achieving their namesake, which is that they're not last.
And it looks like Matt Shepka just making a pass on Connor Acatella. Am I saying that Acatella?
I believe it's Acatella. I can't tell you I've ever asked him, but he also has never told me I'm wrong, so...
We'll use both, and you can't be right and wrong at the same... Or I don't know, something like that.
It's a win-win.
Exactly. Before we move further forward, actually, let's just cover who is on the back of the pack racing.
Yeah, back of the pack, they've got Aaron Hall, Michael McLeod, Charlie Poirier, and Ryan Winfelt. Winfelt not here today, neither is McLeod, but Hall and Poirier are both racing. All currently running in the 18th position in that Spoon Sports Honda behind David Bauer, who's working his way back through the field, and just ahead of Cinecall, who is starting his very first race in ATC. And Poirier is all the way up in 11th, running just behind Kurt Smith. They are currently going around that lap car Sedano, and actually, this may be an opportunity for him. He's trying to take that inside line where Kurt is compromised. But now I think he may get compromised a little for this corner. Ano's just trying to stick it there. I think he's going to get a good exit, all things considered. And yeah, very well within that slipstream range. Back to Pack Racing has had a couple of good performances. A little bit of bad luck. I think Laguna was kind of quite a bloodbath for everybody. We're going to cut back.
So I've heard.
Oh, there's contact there under braking. And Carr's working on Slug, trying to get around him for fourth. I'm not sure if someone moved under braking there, but that was quite the nudge.
Slug not giving up easy. He's definitely trying to stay way ahead.
Yeah, and this is important for not just Slug, but also his teammate. Because I am certain that James is faster than the both of them. So it's going to come down to how good are the both of them at defending, how much can they hold him up, whoa, and force him to make a mistake. And he did put a tire in the grass there, but kept it together. And that's kind of what they're going to want to do. They want him to burn up his tires behind them, so that at least one of them gets on that podium.
Yeah, to just try and get into his head, because James has the pace. He has that speed. He will really burn you. He can hold on to that pace as well. So trying to get into his head and just try and win the strategy game is going to be the only way to stay ahead of drivers such as James.
Yeah, every race, James just seems to get better and better at the racecraft, really refining that. And it's a big reason why he secured his first career victory last season and continues to impress as a potential championship contender. And of course, the de facto leader of Breakfast for Dinner at this point.
Everyone loves breakfast for dinner.
And that whole team is rapid. It's not just Carr. Justin Rhodes is a fantastic qualifier. Still needs to get the race pace to match the quali pace, but overall has fantastic consistency and speed about him. And of course, David Bauer, I could say the same thing about him. He's actually pulling into the pits right now, maybe an early stop. But he also has good pace. He's gotten a little unlucky here today, but this may be part of an undercut strategy to get him out of traffic so that he can recover more positions.
Ooh, I gotta say, I've tried these undercuts before, and it leaves you on a very boring and empty island, and the mind starts wandering. I don't know if this one's gonna pay off, but all I can say is I really hope it does.
I have to agree with you. It can be, especially at this track, you're going to be zoned out by the time you hit the end of that straightaway. He has pitted at the very start of the pit window. It could be as much as...
Oh, he's out.
Oh, he may be out. He may have just been too far behind or run into an issue. But if he does come back on track, he's pitted 30 minutes before anyone else will. So he won't be seeing anyone for a while if he does come back out. Settled down a bit at the front here. James is still working on the tail end of Slug. Zepka and Akatela dueling for that 8th position. It's Smith and Poirier for 10th, and Bajulaz and Savio for 13th. Bajulaz, another driver, working on a recovery after that wreck in lap 1.
Who was that was just going for that pass? That looks like James is real close to the Slug.
Yeah, he's flashing those lights. Will he go for a move? He's as close as you can get. He's gonna back out of it. This is some patience we're seeing here, and probably a fuel-saving strategy. That would be the place on track to do it if you're gonna save fuel and keep up with the pack ahead.
I would actually be putting my money on, I'm looking at the deltas between the cars right now. Slug is 1 second away from Logan McKenzie. So if James actually behaves That keeps Slug in that draft and effectively brings James up into that battle for second. So I'm going to have to put my money on that being a strategic choice, because if he loses that draft, that's a lot of hard work to get it back and get right back up and close that gap. So yeah.
Yeah, and that would also mean that he doesn't need to be faster than Slug or McKenzie. He needs to be faster than Shink because Shink is still very much pulling McKenzie along.
So now that Slugnificent here has lost a little bit of that gap, let's see if James makes a different decision this time round as they head onto that straight.
Yeah, Will, he's...
Oh, and he's gained it back.
If I were him, I would be a bit worried that Slug can't close that gap more than it is. So he may just decide, hey, I'm going to pass him anyway, and just take the hit now instead of letting him slow me up until we're a second and a half or 2 seconds back. Let's see if he
From what I'm
pulls out.
From what I'm seeing, oh, there he is pulling out. Pulling out. Slugnificent had an excellent final sector, though, and here we go 2 by 2.
Yes, it's James on Slug, McKenzie on Shink. It looks like a car has gotten around Slug there, and it looks like McKenzie has gotten past Shink for second place again. So a double swap in the top five. And if you're Micah Hendricks, we haven't mentioned him at all since he passed McKenzie for the lead, but we haven't had to. He's just been watching these guys battle and bleed time to him the entire race, and now he's got a 4-second gap.
4 second gap with 40-minute race. That is a great spot to be on. He's basically out on vacation out in the Bahamas with his feet in the sand, having a margarita out in front.
It's really just a Sunday drive for him right now. We're going to jump back here a little bit and check in on Justin Rhodes because Lieutenant Dan is very close to him, putting that nose in there. And that was through that dangerous kink. And behind, Zepka going off track. And that's what happens if you hit that kink wrong and the car bottoms out. You have to let up quite a bit, or else you're just going to understeer straight off.
Oh, that sounds dangerous.
These four coming up here, it's going to be Rhodes, who's a sitting duck. And meanwhile, in the front stretch, you have several cars on the inside line as McKenzie may be trying to break that slipstream. So we'll check back in on Rhodes after these guys get to the end of the straight. But it looks like it may be Shink again taking second place. I think he's going to be fully ahead before they reach turn one.
Trying to go around the outside. Looks like Logan McKenzie a little bit off throttle just to sneak back in the draft of Francois Shink. And yeah, here we go. Heading towards Coca-Cola corner.
Yeah, it looked like Carr had tried to put a nose in, but was unable to pull it off. And McKenzie does keep Carr behind him, despite being passed by Shink. This field's starting to tighten up, much like the 4 cars ahead of them. And Dan did not go for Rhodes the last time they were on the straightaway. So it should be interesting to see what happens when they come back around. If Dan can keep it close enough within that half second, then he'll have a shot.
And so which team do we have here? Lieutenant Dan, he is on Torque Steer Racing. So now that we're here, Torque Steer Racing, what are those drivers? Who are those drivers?
Yeah, so Torque Steer Racing, of course you have the venerable Anime Dan driving his Veloster here, using all the track there, and then some. And just behind him is Matt Zepka in the Aperture Laboratories livery. Torque Steer, one of the teams that does not run similar liveries. So you see a lot of creativity from those drivers. So that's Dan and Matt. Do we have the other 2 drivers from the team? Aaron Law not here today, and Gurkan Demir also not here today. Demir was at the first 2 races of the season. At the very least, Laguna Seca. So today, the responsibility to get some points falls completely on Smith and Zepka for Torque Steer.
And that's a lot of pressure on their shoulders, so let's see how they handle that.
Well, it looks like Dan's about to try and get a couple more. Very narrow. This could open him up to a crossover move, and that's exactly what's going to happen. And now there's some contact as he tries to push Rhodes back to the inside of the track. But they do keep it neck and neck. Zepka also defending from Acatella in the back. Rhodes
Oh, and
popping
there's a
out.
blink.
Oh, and they've
Oh,
switched positions. How has that happened? Oh, no! Oh no, that looks like some kind of failure. He has gone straight on and straight into a stop.
oh, that's an unfortunate. He blew a tire or something.
That's just some kind of failure. And so
Maybe
Dan,
his power. I think I saw some power steering fluid on the track.
yeah, hopefully they get that, the stewards go over and get that cleaned up real quick, because now it's Rhodes with a gap on Zepka and Acatella. And he's going to be looking to extend that at least a little bit, put himself out of the danger zone, and leave the Torque Steer and Yellow Flag drivers to fight over 7th place.
So with a 7.5 second gap from that lead, second lead pack to Rose, it's not a terrible spot to be in at least.
Yeah, and these guys, I do think that from 6th on back, those guys are kind of stuck now at 6th place is the best we can do. So Rhodes is kind of the effective leader for this group. And I think you could say the same about Poirier, and maybe things will change on pit road, but it looks like 6th and 9th are kind of hard cutoffs right now. And then I'm also not sure that anyone is going to catch Micah without a mistake. So these guys are probably treating Shink as the effective leader here as well.
It looks like someone had Smith going for a move on Puyer.
Oh, and that's very close. It looks like Fedorowski's also going to stick his nose in there. The QZ Motorsports driver getting his elbows out.
And that was actually the next team that I wanted to go over is the QZ Motorsports team.
You and your Canadian alphabet.
North of the wall.
We do have Fedorowski on QZ Motorsports here, and he is the highest rated one in this race right now, sitting in 11th. Alex Kutlowski and Michael Zepp are his teammates. Both are here today. There's Kutlowski in 18th right now, going down the front stretch. And then Michael Zepp, who doesn't look like he is on track right now. So it's just those two guys running this race. And we're looking at... Oh, these guys have closed this gap now. So the P6 battle, very close. Are still working on McKenzie, who is slipping further and further away from Shink. And that's going to give Carr a chance here. Bajula is making a pass on Fedorowski for that 11th position. And I think he can back into a top 10 with this recovery drive. This has been great from him since that incident.
Oh, from the funky business in turn 1. Yeah, this is great recovery drive to be all the way up into 11th, challenging for 10th or even 9th. So let's see how this goes. I don't think I see too much damage on his car, so that's a huge plus, especially for a long race.
Yeah, and he started in 8th position, so if he's able to get 9th, it's really not that far off that qualifying position, and he is going to go for that move. It was a bit difficult. Charlie made his car very wide. Oh, and something is happening up here. I think Carr was ahead. Oh, it looks like Shink just blinked out because it looked like they had both passed him for a moment.
Yeah, just timing tower funny business.
So it is still McKenzie defending from Carr, with his teammate Slug not close enough to really harass Carr out of this one. So I wonder if McKenzie does not lose Shink. If I'm Carr, I'm perfectly content with where I am, honestly. If I can fuel save to my heart's desire here, then sure.
In the yellow flag sandwich.
He's got breakfast behind him and dinner in front of him.
I want to see some bacon on those cars.
One of them is sponsored by a pancake house, but there is no bacon house sponsor that I know of, so they need to get on that.
Oh, maple syrup up in the house. So the next team I'm looking at is the Has Holes Motorsports. I don't think we've gone through that one yet, have we, or did we do that one earlier?
We have not, and the biggest hassle is our leader, Micah Hendricks, who came onto the team last season and has been doing a great job just getting those guys uh, even faster. Daniel Sedano and teammate August Blondal have both made huge leaps in their pace. Not only since Hendricks has come on, but beforehand. Through seasons 3 and 4, those guys are getting faster. Then you get to season 5, and Hendricks has taken them up to another level, and they're constantly fighting for those top 10s now. And the whole team as a whole has improved, definitely thanks to him. And speaking of those other two, Sedano had a bit of a rough day. He was involved in that one of the incidents early, so sitting in 19th, but he did qualify 18th. So if he can get to Kotlowski, who's 6 seconds up the road, he'll at least be back where he started. August Blondal also was involved in a bit of a spin earlier, I believe. So he is down in 17th, but 6 positions up from where he started. So you can't complain about that at least, and he is in the points.
Yeah, and so where is the points cutoff with this point scheme?
So the top 20 drivers are guaranteed points in this Alpha Challenge. That means 20th gets 3 points, and then you go up it by 3-point intervals until you hit the top 5, I believe, and then it starts to split up by 4 points. So those top 4 or 5 positions are worth a bit more. But anyone who finishes outside the top 20 with at least half of the leaders' completed laps, then they will also log that minimum 3 points. So there is incentive to at least log some laps if you're involved in an incident early and collect those baseline 3 points.
Perfect. So, this, for those who don't read the sporting code, you can just listen live right here.
And it helps that I wrote most of it. It's all up here.
No, but still, always good for all you guys to read that. Lots of good information. Sometimes you read it again, and you're like, oh, hey, I didn't see that the first time. Always good to go over it again.
So when it comes to Fuji Speedway, I talked a little bit about the tire wear at the end of the qualifying session. This track may be the highest, maybe second highest behind perhaps Laguna in terms of tire wear. And since it's an Alpha Challenge, these guys are going to feel it way more than they did at Laguna. It becomes a bit of a struggle towards the end of the race because the car really starts to plow. The understeer, especially through the sweeper that is turns 4 and 5, it's absolutely brutal. You feel it. You can also feel it in that second to last corner with that's just before that final corner there. And these guys have just gone through both these corners really. You start to feel that. Now I'm not sure how much time doing some tire saving is going to get you, because you can do a good bit and probably save over 10% worth of tire wear in some circumstances. But I'm not sure if it was an hour and a half race, it would be huge. The hour race, it's going to depend on the driver and the car, I think.
Definitely, and the driver and how that driver uses those tires, even in 30 minutes, because if the way you use your tires overheats, and here we go, Connor looks like trying to make a pass.
It looked like
and
Rhodes was very slow in the apex.
Connor's up the inside for Coca-Cola corner, able to take that apex, shorter distance travel, and making that pass stick.
Yeah, and so Acatella gets back into 6th. Rhodes and Zepka hasn't been involved in this a whole lot. He's been following Acatella a lot, which makes me wonder if he's been fuel saving. But if he thinks Acatella is going to pull away from Rhodes, you might see some urgency from Zepka as well to go around the breakfast for dinner driver.
Looks like Matt Zepka is up 4 spots, Justin Rhodes up 2 spots, and then Connor's actually down 1, so he's Well, you know what? In sixth position, that's still not a bad spot to be.
Absolutely not. I think that swap for Connor was with his teammate Slug, who started, I believe, 2 positions behind him. So that's the only one he's lost, and perhaps with how far they are off this field, it's clear that he didn't have the pace to necessarily keep up with the lead pack. But he has a good chance here to be the best of the rest, as he has shown several great overtakes today, as well as keeping Zepka at bay over the course of this whole stint. And Zepka is going to take on that sense of urgency. Look to the right. It is wheel to wheel down into turn number 1. Torque steer on the inside. Breakfast for dinner on the outside. And Zepka just had his desserts on that one.
Every time I hear breakfast or dinner, I just think bacon.
The puns you can use are absolutely endless, and I abuse them all the time.
Oh, perfect.
Oh, we've got slow car. Kurt Smith may be serving a slowdown here, as he had to let 3 cars through. Brutal slowdown. Whatever happened there. I think he may have gone wide in turn 1. Does also have some right side damage, which I'm not sure if that was there before or not. But that puts him
That,
down to the 13th.
yeah. So, let's see. Yellow Flag Motorsports. I think there's 3 drivers on this team. We've got Logan McKenzie here, as we've already covered. We've got Slugnificent, one driver we've also talked about, and then Connor Acatella is the 3rd driver, and all 3 of these drivers are looking like they're in real great positions to score some big points for the team, for the team standings. And away they go onto this long straight with Matt Sepka and Justin Rhodes in tow.
Yeah, and this is definitely Yellow Flag's one of their stronger performances as a team. Over the last couple seasons, it's been kind of up and down. Either Slug has been fast and McKenzie's been slow, or it's been vice versa. But this season, they also add Acatella to the mix, and it seems like the off-season testing has paid off for the team as a whole, because both McKenzie and Acatella have stepped their game up from last season.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe it was Connor was the one who won the Delta Championship last season.
That is correct, and I think it was a big part of why Yellow Flag picked him up. He stepped into that Veloster last season and was immediately competitive, and he was rewarded with that Delta Championship, which I believe the little emblem for it is on the back of his car, the little silver wreath to sort of as a congratulations for
To
that.
commemorate his initial season, I guess, eh?
Well, the victory of the Delta Championship as well. But now, of course, he is solely in the Alpha Championship with the big boys, and I think he's shown that it certainly belongs here.
Definitely be up into 6th position. Oh, and those cars are taking that curve like a jump.
That looked much worse than anything I've seen tonight. I feel like Acatella just took a lot of extra on this lap, and Matt followed him through it, because I've not seen those cars jump like that either.
And do they take the curves? No, they just barely, narrowly miss them. And Zepka getting closer than he's ever been, looking for that late apex onto the straight. Connor doing a little bit of a shallower exit. And it's anybody's guess how this is going to turn out as they head down this long straight.
And it looks like Carr and McKenzie are side by side again, and they're actually very close to Shink. So McKenzie doesn't have a whole lot of room to work with here on this defense. That also, of course, means that Carr, if he gets around McKenzie, in order to make it stick, he's going to be on the bumper of Shink.
Oh, they're heading through Coca-Cola Corner, almost kissing each other.
I know I've seen Carr bring the bumper to McKenzie's rear end there a couple of times already. He's still sitting back there, though, and I mean, he's seen that McKenzie's not losing touch with Shink, so I think it's just more fuel saving for Carr, and this 3rd place, or even 2nd place, is very much still on for the number 26.
And if you head back to that cockpit view, it's something I wanted to note. You can really see the S1, S3, S4 on the rear end of Logan McKenzie's car. And I'm sure that James, looking at this for this long, he wants one on his car.
Yeah, and you know, last season, going into it, he was a favorite. I considered him a favorite. A lot of people did. And it was just bad luck. Lots of drive-throughs, crashes. This season, I think he's in a much stronger position. He's cleaned up the incidents. And not just that, but of course the incident limit for drive-throughs has gone up. He's not getting involved in any dumb crashes so far. He's had pace every single track we've gone to. It really could be that this is the year that he gets one of those on the back of his car.
And he's definitely got a challenger on that front with Micah Hendricks, and as you already saw, the three-time champion Logan McKenzie. So it's going to be real interesting to see how the points go through the rest of the season.
Absolutely. And Akatela here defending from Zepka. It looked like Zepka was maybe ahead at the start of the straight. Akatela is better on the brakes, and I think he's going to be able to bring it around entirely over Zepka's nose. And yes, he is able to pull that one off. Holds on to 6th position. We're at 38 minutes. We're very close to, I was just about to say it, close to pit stops as Savio and Poirier came on to pit road. And the pit window should extend to about 45 minutes, depending on how long some of these guys have been fuel saving.
And here we go. I think it said Puyer. I've always said Puyer, but it could be it's something.
One of us will be corrected. and then we'll know.
Yeah, you know what? It's rite of passage.
Absolutely. Every broadcaster's got to realize that they forgot to ask about this one name. And just guess. Hope it's 6. Car went over that curb on the outside of turn, I believe it's 11 or 12. That is probably the most dangerous curb on the track, where you come over that blind right-hander. And the second curb on the left side broke a suspension or two last season.
Well, as they head down the straight, are they going to try and make passes before they do their pit stops? Oh! And a car coming out of the pits too. So this is gonna get real spicy.
I think Carr may have McKenzie here. McKenzie's gonna keep the nose in it. That was a bold move. He did the switchback, and McKenzie was kind of just stuck in the middle of the track. But now McKenzie with the inside line, and he's gonna actually back out. And the car has done it. He's into 3rd, and at the same time, Zebka goes around Akatela in turn 1, and Rhodes is actually still 1.5 seconds back. This shows that I think Zepka made the right move. Get around Rhodes immediately, put him in your rearview mirrors. He let the gap get long enough that Rhodes was out of their slipstream, and then he made the move.
Yeah, and strategically speaking, I'm sure everyone's gonna now drive differently after saying this, but strategically speaking, you want to be the car that's in the lead as you enter the pits, and if that lap that you're coming into the pits, you can make that pass, it's going to serve you a lot better, strategically speaking. So many of these drivers may be thinking about that, making the move for that reason.
That could be exactly why Carr has just chosen now to make his way around McKenzie. And it could also, of course, fuel Zepka's decision to pull out ahead of Akatela. Leader Micah Hendricks coming down the front stretch right now. He is not going down pit road. Not sure how much fuel saving or flat out pushing he's been doing up here with his over 7-second gap at this point. But I think we're going to see some divergence in when these cars come to pit in these fields that are further on back.
Yeah, I'm definitely curious to see how this goes and see everyone's pit lane times from cone to cone and see who's able to maximize their times in the pits.
Yeah, and one thing that is not going to even be picked up by the overall how long you spent on pit lane is that crazy pit entry. And I hope we can see catch someone going down it and getting on board, because it's very easy to get black flagged there for an unsafe pit entry and speeding, because it encourages you to go so fast.
Yeah. Oh, I've tried it. It's not easy.
I think we're
So,
seeing a bit of a pace drop off from McKenzie here because now he's even struggling to keep Slug behind.
ooh, this may be the perfect time to pit while you're ahead.
Yeah, do you want to risk losing that time? Absolutely. Aaron Hall now on pit lane in the Honda. He was
He's
running in, I think, either 13th or 12th when he came in.
I've got 13. Oh, he
Oh no!
missed his pit
Oh
stall.
no! Oh
No.
no! He's missed it by quite a bit.
He's got to put that thing in Tokyo Drift reverse.
Well, that'll cost him. That looked like at least 5 seconds. So hopefully he's not lost too much to the cars around him. These
Looks like
cars.
Micah, is he coming in? I don't think so. I don't think any of these guys are.
No, we are now ticking over to lap 25 with no hits from the leaders. Flat out, these cars should be using about 1.8 liters a lap. These are 45-liter tanks. Now, you can do the math on that one. I certainly can't do that in my head right now, but I think 25 times 1.8, we're pretty close to 45 liters.
Yeah. And so another team I've got here on the list, Beaver Buzz.
Yes, I think Beaver Buzz, overall one of the strongest teams in the league, if not the strongest, and one of its members, Jerome Bajulaz, is on pit road from ninth position, continuing his recovery into the top 10. Ahead of him, Justin Rhodes, also on pit lane. Eric Stats are coming down pit road from 11th, it looks like. We'll talk about Beaver Buzz here. So Bajulaz and John Lauzon, who is currently not on track any longer, founded the team last season, sponsored by the venerable Beaver Buzz Energy Drink Company, situated in their homeland of maple trees and syrup.
North of the wall.
And this season, or excuse me, last season, they so it was founded in season 4. I keep forgetting we're not in season 5 anymore. Season 5, they brought on Francois Schink, who at the time had one championship in season 2 and was consistently one of the fastest drivers on the grid. And I will get back to that because we're going to watch his pit lane entry. He's cut quite a bit of the. Now hold
Ooh,
on.
that's gonna be risky.
He's cut a lot of that red. I am not certain that that was a legal pit entry. Slug followed him in. We didn't see his pit entry. It looks like most of these pit stops are ranging between 11 to 13 seconds. So we're about to see if Schink is going to take a black flag here. He would already know if he has it at this point. Hendricks also came down pit road on this lap, sitting right there ahead of Schink. And he's going to pull out with a 12.3 second stop. It looks like Slug is now out. And
Oh,
Schink is
Francois.
stuck.
Francois Schink. Oh, he got pinged for that one. Oh, I was not feeling hopeful, and yeah, for good reason.
That's going to allow even drivers like Zepka to get around him. So that is it. He may be out of top 10 contention with
That's
that
a
penalty.
long penalty.
There are 3 drivers that have yet to pit: Acatella, McKenzie, and Carr. Carr has assumed the lead. Now, McKenzie already got the lap-led bonus point from leading the first lap. Carr has just collected that bonus point since they stayed out past Hendricks. So, very important points for both of those guys. Schink still on pit road. Fedorowski goes by him. We're
no.
about to come on to lap 27. No Carr or McKenzie pit.
Let's watch this pit entry. Here we go. One more lap. Where are they going to go in? Oh, and there goes McKenzie.
So McKenzie pits, and that's going to leave Carr to do one more lap. And McKenzie,
don't hit that red. And stop at the cones. There you go.
it looked like he may have stopped a bit early there. But, you know, if you've just seen that your rival has been bopped for an unsafe pit entry, you're probably thinking, you know, I better not do the same thing. And his teammate Acatella is going to come in as well.
Oh, that was one wild ride all the way in.
That leaves James Carr as the only car to have not pitted yet in this race. And I would be shocked if he does not come in on this lap because that would be a monumental fuel save. Shink is finally out of the pit. He's currently in 14th.
Ooh, that's painful.
Hendrick's lead. We're about to find out if Carr comes in this lap. We're about to find out if Carr has eaten into it at all. It was about 8 seconds when the pit started. And McKenzie did gain some time on Hendricks himself. He gained about maybe half a second. That gap is 8 seconds right now. So maybe Hendricks had a bit of a... Hendricks did have a slow time on pit lane. He was a second slower than McKenzie, Slug, 2 seconds slower than Akatela and Zepka. So he was definitely not saving fuel, but also may have just had a slow entry.
And also, when you're that far ahead, you just don't want to take a pit lane violation or any of that.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no reason for him to worry about that. Smith making a move on Charlie into turn number 1, and I think he's going to get him. Charlie maybe trying to go for a little crossover move here. We'll get a better exit out of the corner, but I think that gap is going to be too large heading up to turn number 3.
Here we go, James going into the pit lane right now.
And it did look like he hit the speed limit. We didn't see the rest of the entry, but we will find out shortly what this gap is and where he's come out. And I assume he's going to be closer to McKenzie than he will be to Hendricks.
Let's follow along with Hendricks, see where he's at. And
And Carr not even in the pit box yet. Still going down pit lane.
I can see Hendricks has blocked out his rear view mirror. That's smart strategy. You can see, don't even look behind you, just look forward.
Yes, that's certainly not because of a certain computer's struggles. Hendricks does go by Carr, and he sets the fastest lap of the race doing it, a 1:45.5. Carr comes out of pit lane, and he definitely has more of a gap on McKenzie than he did before. That is a huge
3 seconds.
Yeah,
That is a
seconds.
2-second gain.
And Carr, this is insane. I'm going to pull up the... I will after this lap. I don't think it's going to show up until Carr finishes his out lap. But we'll pull up the timings for what Carr did on pit lane, because it's far and away the fastest. We have just under 11 minutes left. Closest battles on track, McKenzie and teammate Slug battling for that final podium position. Akatela is ahead of Zepka by 7/10. Smith and Poirier are still very close on track. Charlie not close enough to make the move for that final spot in the top 10 going into turn number 1, but very close, very much close enough to make the move before the end of the race. Hendricks leads it all, 4.3 seconds up the road from Carr. Those pit stops did cut his lead in half.
Yeah, I was about to actually mention that. Is I remember him having about an 8-second gap to P2, and so being 4.6. Well, it looks like Micah, he nails that final sector, and that straightaway. He gained 0.2 just off of that alone. So if he can keep that up, it doesn't matter that he's lost 4 or 5 seconds in the pits. He's clearly got the pace to just keep building it right back up again.
Oh, and we have some teammate on teammate action here. Slug making that move for third. McKenzie holding the outside, and now he's going to tuck in, and a huge nudge in the rear end. Slug parked it on the apex. That is a move that we've seen McKenzie pull quite often. I'm sure Slug got a huge kick out of getting to use it on his teammate for once.
This almost looks like 2 stepbrothers fighting.
They definitely know each other's moves very well, and I expect we're going to see more of this before the end of the race. I'm going to pull up that pit strategy and check out pit lane times. Now this is the overall amount of time each driver spent on pit road. If you look at Carr, it's not shown up yet because we still need another lap to create that gap. But we can talk about the other drivers as we come to the start finish. Hendricks had that 47.2. See, that's slower than Slug and McKenzie. And, I mean, Akatela and Zepka were the fastest by far. Just
Uh,
waiting for Carr to come across now.
so Bajula's I'm
Yes.
seeing 45.7.
So he also had a quick stop. So those are the only 3 drivers to get into the 45s there. Yeah, amongst any of the drivers still on the lead lap. Now, Carr coming across the line now, so we should see that time, and look at that. A 44.6. He blew them all away, and we're going to check in on another time here in a second. McKenzie's working on the outside of his teammate here, trying to get that position back. And I'm not sure I've seen someone pass around the outside of turn 1. He's actually going to go for the crossover again. And this time, Slug does not park it. So McKenzie's going to have a better run up towards the kink. And do you want to be side by side going into the kink? This is going to be really tight.
I would say yes, full send. You don't have much time left, but you just gotta take that risk. Go side by side every chance you got, and let's see what they've got. Is gloves off, fight.
Yeah, and Slug definitely went for it there. He went all the way over the curb out there. And at the end of that corner, that curb is very bumpy. So he was putting it all out on the line to stay ahead of McKenzie through that corner. I want
So this is
to... yeah, go ahead.
This create a large gap from Slugnificent here to James D. Carr. 4.5 seconds, and any more battling is going to create a lot more of a gap. Wow, that is a huge jump he's taking off of that curb. Luckily, the car is still intact as he's coming around the final few corners, these decreasing radius turns as they head towards that long start-finish line straight. They do have that large 16-second gap to Connor in 5th position, so they can battle all they want. The likelihood of having anyone coming up the rear of them is very, very low.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're in a position where they've realized we're not doing any better than 3rd, and we're not doing any worse than 4th. So it's a fight, and they can not worry about anybody else around them. You mentioned Connor, it was who they were ahead of. But Connor came out, yeah, he was ahead of Zepka, and he's just increased this gap. And I feel that something must have happened to Zepka, because he was not that far back earlier, and now he's all the way behind Rhodes, who is 6 seconds off of Akatela.
And this is part of one of the challenges of a longer race for an hour, driving for an hour, racing for an hour, I should say. Keeping your focus for every single braking zone, for every single apex exit, and something's happening to Zepka.
I wonder if he picked up a slowdown on the final corner.
Or does he not have enough fuel?
Not sure. You'd have to really screw up to have already run out of fuel. I'm thinking it was just a slow down. We'll keep an eye on him. But that demotes him to 8th.
A lot of people will use fuel calculators, and if they're in a draft for the entire time, that fuel calculator is calculating how much you need to finish the race under draft. So if you have no draft, you are a dead fish out of water.
Yeah, and something a sort of a disaster in regards to fuel calculators kind of gifted McKenzie a win at Road Atlanta in Season 4. For some reason, Crew Chief did not get the right calculation for anybody. It just maxed out everyone's fuel. So everyone took full fuel except a couple people who caught it on pit lane. McKenzie was one of those. And McKenzie making a move now on his teammate.
On the inside.
This is going to be... He's much further ahead than he was last time. Expect Slug to maybe... Oh, he doesn't back out. He's not going to go for the crossover. He's going to stick it on the outside.
And... a little bit of wiggle under braking and not able to take advantage of that late braking. Actually slowing him down just a little bit, but is he going to make a... Oh, he's going to poke the nose in Coca-Cola corner, not able to get up alongside, and he's going to have to settle for 4th position as we go along around 100R.
That is definitely an intimidation tactic there. If you're the car ahead, you're sitting there thinking, please don't send it on me here. That is just not where you want that to happen.
Oh, and they're just kissing and making out here as they're going through all these corners, getting closer and closer.
Sounds like you're writing some Yellow Flag Motorsports fan fiction. Savio makes the pass for 11th on Charlie, but can he make it? Can he finish it? Yes, through turn 1. And I mean, this is great. These midfield guys are putting on a lot of clean battles here. Charlie is doing a great job in that Veloster. How is he typically in the Porsche?
He is one of our. I think right now he's is sixth or seventh in our season standings overall. So Charlie, he was second place in our season season, and he's trying to do it again. We have a lot stronger of a field, but he's proving through consistency and racecraft and just general racing smarts that he can still stay up near the front.
Yeah, a lot of, and you see that the TCR is so interesting because guys who are faster in rear-wheel drive cars sometimes come in and struggle. It was great to see someone make the transition pretty cleanly. It looks like McKenzie's going to allow Slug through here and maybe go for an immediate crossover, but I don't think he got enough of a good run off the corner. So with 2 minutes to go, that's going to mean next time by, lap 34 will be the white flag for Micah Hendricks.
And as they go through, this corner is called 100R for the rate. If I remember correctly, yep, that is 100R, and that is probably the biggest tire killing turn on the whole track for the TCRs. You mess up that turn a few times, all of a sudden you've lost a second of pace.
Yeah, absolutely. And it just, especially this late in the race, is churning the tires. Kurt Smith goes for a dive on Fedorowski. They come together at the apex, and it looks like Smith is going to be able to use that to kind of stay ahead. A cheeky little move.
Oh.
It's the end of the race, so, you know, everything, you got everything in the arsenal out. And if you've got that position on the apex, kind of body the guy outside, that's just touring car racing.
Yeah, it's the door banging. Everyone comes here that they love.
We're going, we're taking the white flag now. This may be McKenzie's last chance to get around Slug, because I'm not sure there's any other place on track to pass. So 3/10 back. Hendricks going through turn number 1 now. And I'm not sure that this is close enough. Slug is going to move to the inside of the track. McKenzie looking right, now dives back left. They go under braking, come very close to coming together. McKenzie again going to go for that crossover move. He just can't get there.
It looks like Slug's able to get the exit that he was hoping for out of turn 1 to keep Logan McKenzie at bay.
They go through the kink, and McKenzie is just so close. But where's the overtaking chance? You can't really do it in any of these spots without putting someone at risk. A lot of these corners encourage that kind of vortex of danger where you dive on a car that's taking the wider preferred line.
Well, what's interesting about that is the car takes that wider preferred line, but you dive up the inside, but because you did that, oh, and here we go.
Oh,
Looks like,
through this corner?
oh, almost able to get up alongside.
Micah Hendricks is going to come around the final corner to win at Fuji. James Carr is going to come second after a stellar recovery drive. Slug and McKenzie, who's going to have that final podium spot? Oh, McKenzie goes wide in the final corner. Slug sliding out a little bit. McKenzie's going to come very close to him out of the corner. It's going to be a drag race for the third spot on the podium. Down to the start-finish line. McKenzie's still not alongside him. It's going to be very close. And, oh, McKenzie's pulled ahead. As they come to the line, it is McKenzie taking that third position over Slug. Acatella is going to take fifth. Another great drive for him and that whole yellow flag team. But it is Hendricks who is victorious here today. And, I mean, what can you say about this drive?
Just absolute wonderful drive from Micah Hendricks. Just from the very beginning, a little bit of luck that separated the pack. He took advantage of it, put his head down, and just kept going.
And we really didn't see any mistakes from him all day. The pit stop, he played it ultra safe and used that like you said, that cushion. Make sure that he got away cleanly.
Definitely. He he must have put a lot of hours of practice in just to get every turn just right to qualify as well as he did, and to just to keep that consistency while racing for 1 full hour. What a great performance! Especially another great performer tonight was James D. Carr in second spot, choosing to drive the Elantra over the Veloster. Maybe one day we'll convince him to switch. But great pit stop from James, able to break that gap from Yellow Flag Motorsports and force Logan McKenzie and Slugnificent to battle it out and create an even bigger cushion for James.
Yeah, and he really, the start was painful. It lost him so much time, and I think he could have very much won this race, even if he had only lost, the spot to Hendricks at the start. So to be where he was, that very demoralizing sixth place at one point, to work all the way back up to second, just 5 tenths off the leaders, is fantastic. So he takes that second spot. McKenzie with what is his second podium of the season, both of them in Alpha Challenges. A huge improvement from where he was pace-wise at the end of last season. I mean, for example, that first podium he had, he was only a couple tenths off of Waj's times at Belle Isle. And I wonder how often we're going to see that side of him this year.
I guess tune in to find out how the story plays out.
Yeah, and it's a similar story with his teammate behind. Slug finally getting back on pace. So I think there's a lot to be positive about with those guys. Akatela, Rhodes, and Bajulaz are your 5th, 6th, and 7th.
Well, let's hear a run through of everyone from start to finish.
We're getting there.
Oh,
One of
loading.
these, one of those combinations loads
Are
the
you on
results.
Pentium over there?
Yeah, it was taking a minute, but we've got them on the board now, and look at that. The Haas have secured their first win under the Haas name. Then we have Carr and McKenzie rounding out the podium in this race. Further on down we go. It is Slug and Akatela finishing that little 3-4-5 for Yellow Flag. Then we have Breakfast for Dinner's Justin T. Rhodes in 6th. It's Bajulaz for Beaver Buzz. Not a good day for Beaver Buzz. Lazan and Bajulaz involved in wrecks. Chink with the penalties. He ended up still being in 14th after all of that. So this will end up being a drop week for all those guys. But there's no drop weeks in the team championship. So this is going to hurt them a bit. Zepka in 8th. He's sort of been back in the back the top 10 so far this season pace-wise. We might be going to a few tracks that are more his style in the future here. So expect to see him higher up the board as we go along. Kurt Smith and Adrian Fedorowski with some fantastic career finishes. Fedorowski continues to show he's done great improvement. Savio also up there with Poirier. Statzer with another solid finish. Then there's Shink, Senecal with a 15th place in his first ATC start and 0 incidents. I cannot believe we had someone start a race for the first time and nab the fewest incidents point spread. That's fantastic for Mark. Blondal was the last driver on the lead lap with Hassels in 16th. Then you go down Ketlowski, Hall, Sedano, Maddox, Dan, Bauer, Chalafu, Lazan, and Zepp. Now 34 laps were completed. So nobody outside the top 20 is going to get those extra 3 points. That is your final results from round three. Any closing thoughts on this race, Michael?
Uh, hmm. Yeah, it was interesting. It's a really great track. It offers a lot of opportunity to try and poke a nose. As I was saying a little bit earlier, uh, the wide preferred line is faster, but you can easily poke a nose. It's just when you poke a nose, you lose a lot of pace coming out of that corner. So it adds a lot of interesting it adds to a lot of the interesting situations that can take place, as we saw between Logan McKenzie and Slug at the end. Those last few laps, it offered a real great display of what this track offers, with these wider lines and so on that you can take. So I thought it was a really great race with all the fuel savings and pit strategy at play as well. It offered a lot of chess matches to happen there as well. So yeah.
Well, I just like to say thank you for coming on and doing this with me this time around. Of course, for the next race, our old broadcaster Paul will be coming back in to take over the proceedings from me. Before you go, is there anything you'd like to say about the Porsche Cup Challenge? Maybe do a little plug?
Hey, I don't know if anyone wants to try, if anyone wants to try the Porsche Cup car. Give it a go. It's a lot of fun. No ABS, no traction control. Engines in the rear. Front of the car understeers somewhat, and then the rear end of it oversteers. It's just absolute lot of fun. The car will challenge you and punish you for every bit of error, driving error that you have. It's a lot of fun. We have Porsche Cup Challenged, our league. We run Thursdays and Sundays, anywhere from 25 to 35 cars every single race. And yeah, come on, join us if you've got questions. I guess message Logan McKenzie and he can guide you the right way.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. I can say from driving the Porsche car, that thing is a blast. And
I think you tried it.
yeah, I even felt like some of the things I learned from driving touring cars helped me get up to speed with it a little bit faster, especially on the brakes. Um, but
I,
it's
I, I saw you try it at Imola. How did that one go?
yeah, that's probably the brakes just overheating. McLaren probably built those brakes. They have those troubles at the start of the season. Uh, I'm not sure I ever apologized to whoever I hit. I should track them down. Thank you so much for being here tonight. We will take one last look at the current standings before we go. And that right now, since Waj did not make this race, he drops down to the fifth position in the standings. So Micah and Logan are separated by a point up top. This is, I believe, the first time Micah has held the lead of the Alpha Touring Challenge Championship. James is just behind them with 159. And then for all the struggles that Slug has had over the at the end of last season, over the off season, he sits in fourth, not 40 points off the leaders. So then there's Waj, and then Shink down in sixth place. He had some trouble today. That accounts for most of those missing points. And then Akatela, Ajula, Zepka, and Bauer round out your top 10 right now. Rhodes is the current leading Delta driver, with Statzer and Smith close behind him in that championship. We'll keep an eye on that because all those drivers are very close level on points right now. The team standings, Breakfast for Dinner is opening up a lead here over Beaver Buzz, who had troubles in this race, and Yellow Flag Motorsports, who had troubles at Laguna Seca. Fork Steer Racing is sort of hanging on there. Hassels Motorsports is kind of creeping up on them for that fourth position. Then you have QZ not last and back of the pack, rounding out those team standings, keeping to that namesake.
Oh, true to the name. And actually, Backpack Racing, that's my team name.
Ah, yes. Hey, at least you guys are being honest. Maybe
Yep,
after this season,
consistent.
hey, maybe after this season, you guys are getting good enough that you have to change it.
Yeah, yeah, consistently our name, you know what? It fits. But yeah, thank you for having me out for talking through the race and commentating and watching what was a great race. And yeah, thank you for having me.
Yep. All right. Uh, thank you to everyone out there who is watching. From myself and Michael. Have a good night.
For him, it is the crown over and in the Alpha Championship.